Welcome to On the Go, a podcast about life, leadership, and the Lord. Here are your hosts, J.C. Worley and David Waldroup.
Hey, welcome to the On the Go podcast. I'm David. This is Pastor J.C.
Hello.
And we are all about life, leadership, and the Lord.
We got a big announcement.
Big announcement. A lot of things brewing.
We're going to get into our failures, but today is a win.
It's a win. It is a win. Love is in the air.
Love is in the air. Somebody's getting hitched.
In fact, that person who's getting hitched, go ahead and walk over here right now.
I'm so excited.
Just go ahead and, who knows who it is? You never know when your daughter's going to get engaged. It's Carly! Carly, show everyone that. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Wow,
That's
Carly.
a cubic zirconium. If I've ever said that, how you say it, a fake diamond.
That.
No, I'm just kidding.
It looks
I'm
more
just
like
kidding.
an engagement ring to me.
Yeah, that is, man, look at that thing shimmer.
So Carly,
Tell us about your man.
He's great.
Is he great?
He's very
He's so handsome.
He's very handsome.
I'm so proud for you. You don't have to tell everybody, but do we have a date set?
We do have a date set.
now not all of you will be invited, just so you know.
But you can all give gifts.
You should give a gift,
please.
even though you're not.
I mean, we can't invite everybody, but you can go to Amazon. They'll be registered there. Exactly.
Carly,
Congratulations.
excited for you, Carly.
You know, Carly's always behind the scenes, but she's got her Fly Eagles Fly sweatshirt. Yeah. What a year.
What a year to be alive for Carly.
I mean, she's
That is a
always
good one.
behind the scenes.
Must be nice.
But we just needed to take the moment to celebrate her. So
deserves it.
To all of our listeners, just give a big shout out to Carly.
Way to go, Carly. Secure
She's
the
getting
bag.
married. Hey, take her off the board. Taken.
She's taken. She's spoken for.
You had your chance, Bobby. I don't even know who Bobby is.
Whoever he is, he's a scumbag. Loser. Hey, we are in our final two leadership failures.
I can't believe it.
We have failed so many times over and 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 over again. That's 8 failures we've talked about.
Was that really?
So
did you did that and you counted?
I'm pretty sure it was 8.
Somebody count that because that could be another failure.
Play back. But I got 2 failures left, and so do you.
I want to say, as you pull that out for the reveal, I've been so impressed with how bad you are at things.
Well, it's only going to get worse. Okay, yeah, this one, I probably could have made this my number 1.
Uh-oh.
So it's not funny at all. Actually, it just hurts. So David's number 2 biggest failure, my decisions not to fire staff hurt my people and my organization.
Are you talking about firing people?
Yeah, well,
Man.
that is part of leadership sometimes. We talked about in a couple episodes ago, we talked about how an organization can be a bus. And so if it's a bus, some people need to get on the bus. Some people need to change their seat on the bus. If they're in the wrong role, maybe there's a better role for them. Sometimes people just need coaching in the seat that they're in. But there are times where the writing is on the wall, right? And you just know, man, this person it doesn't make them a bad person, but they are not a fit for our organization. There's not a role. There's not a place for them for a variety of different reasons. And my decision as the leader not to fire certain staff in certain seasons has caused a lot of harm, not only to our people and to our organization, but even to that individual, because you keep them around longer than they really needed to be, and then they get hurt more. So let me say a couple of things here. Number 1 is firing someone, at least the way that we do it, that should be a absolute last resort.
Yeah, I mean, it's not our goal or intention to fire anybody.
That is never the intention. It's never the goal. And it should be something that you try your best to make it work with the individual. And it's something I think we've committed ourselves to doing at least in the last 10 years. I feel like we've really been there. For me, and I could chalk up to a lot of things. This isn't a podcast to just only diagnose everything wrong with me. I think for me, I have this optimism that maybe it'll get better, right? Wow, I shook the TV there. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe after this conversation, things will get better. And at some point, whenever you see, okay, it's not the role because we tried that. It's not the coaching because we tried that. It's not even the courageous conversation and the hard conversation. At some point, you got to let go. And there are people that have been hurt because I just didn't pull the trigger on that. And that's something that's been really difficult for me. So I would tell you, if you're the senior leader and you've I mean, you gave me that authority, and in various seats that I've sat in where you said, hey, I'm good. If you think we need to terminate them, you can terminate them. You gave me that green light and empowered me to make the decision. And I could probably count at least 3 or 4 times that I did not make the call, and it ended up backfiring every single time. So if you're the leader, know that the pain is there, and it's gonna hurt no matter what. But if you've got that hunch, and someone that's a spiritual leader in your life, a mentor, a board member, whatever your role looks like in your workplace, if you've got that hunch and you've got 1 or 2 people that you trust their leadership and they're a non-biased voice in it, and they've affirmed that you need to do it, you just got to rip the Band-Aid. You'll be better for it. They'll be better for it. Your organization will be better for it. Do not drag it out, because the more you drag it out, it's a bad fit. And so if something's a bad fit, it's going to cause pain. So anyways.
Well, I want to talk about that, but just in a different kind of direction for a moment, because I'm thinking about the leader of that is hearing what you're saying, and they're like, this is actually confirmation.
Yeah.
I needed somebody to give me the okay. So how do you do that?
Yeah.
Right? How do you fire somebody? Because, man, that's such a... That's such an impact on a person's resume, even on their, like self-worth, to know that they've been terminated.
That's hard.
So I would just tell you, I mean, we've had to have some conversations in the past with staff that we knew we were transitioning them. In the last episode, I talked about my personality as an Enneagram 8. I don't want to lose control, right? I want power. So early on in my ministry, that even meant around the narrative that was being told.
Yeah.
So I would want to make sure everybody knew. I let them go.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, hopefully, and I know this to be true, I've matured in my leadership enough to know that the narrative, so it looks like I made the decision, is not as important as the individual who's transitioning to a new assignment in life.
That's good.
And so I would say that if you're sitting down with someone, unless you just have, full authority, not in terms of your responsibility, but there's another word that I'm looking for, just not plausible cause, but like enough where I got to fire this person, give them the chance to resign.
Yeah.
Give them a chance to resign.
Agreed.
Severance them well. Help them get to what's next. Because, and this is a general statement, it may not be true for every single staff person. I can see your wheels turning, by the way.
I have so many things.
I know you do.
Keep going.
But it may not be true for every single staff person in your organization. But for the most part, that person brought some good and did some good while they were on the team. But that doesn't mean that just because they got you here, now they can get you there. And so there are moments where you have to part ways with somebody. Just do that with great respect. Do that with great clarity.
Yeah.
And then bless them, honor them, and then move on from them.
Yeah.
Maybe that doesn't mean in life, but it definitely means in leadership.
Yeah.
I remember one individual that I had to sit down. I had given multiple opportunities, including a kind of like a 30-day. You got 30 days to figure it out. We're gonna meet back at the end of 30 days. So just for the clarity piece, at the end of the 30 days, we came back. Nothing had changed, and I knew in my heart that the decision to transition the individual, it had to be made. Because, and I want to say this too, because if everybody on your team knows and you refuse to do it, they begin to question your ability to lead.
For sure.
So I knew I had to make the decision. So I set the individual down. I said what needed to be said. Then I paused and I said, I need you to say back to me what you're hearing me say to you right now. Because when you're letting somebody go, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of questions, but you need to make sure there's clarity. Now you can follow with HR on the back end, but even in that termination, we blessed them, we severanced them, we prayed for them, we honored them, and I didn't walk out of that meeting and go to my team and be like, here's what I did.
Right.
We let them tell the narrative.
It's good.
And again, certain situations.
Right. Yeah, no, there are some. I don't want to go too far into an example there. Was
that too far? Did I
go
too far?
No, you didn't. Okay. No, you didn't. I think there's a couple other things I want to add in on this, and we're only going to do 2 each, so we can spend a little more time on this. you brought up, when you let someone go, it doesn't have to be let them go from your life. And there are some that actually our personal relationship with them got better whenever they weren't on the team anymore. And then, man, and I get emotional just talking about, but there are some that like, I just hate it, man, because they were, it's been 7 or 8 years, man, and I still get emotional talking about one that had to be let go of the team, and it wasn't because we wanted the person gone, and it was like a brother to me, and so that's just hard. Like, it's hard, and I think that when you make those decisions and you know that you're going to lose both, you're not going to have them as a friend or as a coworker anymore. You just got to pull that trigger, and you got to trust the Lord, because here's what it reveals about you. And I'm definitely worse at this than you are. You're a lot stronger and more willing to make that tough call than I have been in the past, which is why I wrote it down. But I think what I try to do is I just want to hold it all together. Like, I'm one of those, like, why can't we all just figure it out? Like, why can't we all be friends? And your intentions seem to be pure, but what you're doing, if you're a Christian leader, whether you're in a business, a nonprofit, or a church, what you're saying is you're the one holding it all together, not God. God's not holding it together. You're holding it together. And what will happen is it will never work because you're the one holding it together. If you can trust God to say, God's got something better for that person, and he's got something better for us. That was me trying to just have it my way. And so many people have gotten hurt, man. I mean, I could start listing them off. I don't want anyone listening to this, no matter what type of role you're in, if you have the ability and the authority to fire, and you've done absolutely everything you can, I promise you there are people being hurt right now because you're not letting them go. Don't make that decision.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
That is I'll say this to the leaders as I grab this wildly creative.
Yeah. I've been tracking
envelope.
all of our
Tremendous.
failures.
Great leaders make tough decisions.
Yeah.
Great leaders make tough decisions.
It's big.
There's a saying, like, that's why you get paid the big bucks. And while most of us don't get big bucks, the principle behind that thought is you're sitting in a seat of great responsibility and authority, and you have to make really hard decisions. And transitioning anybody off of the team for any reason, that's not easy.
Yeah.
I would never look forward to that. And I'm not trying to prove a point here on the podcast, but we've sat down because both of us said it almost, in sync 3 or 4 different times in the past.
Yeah.
I've said to you, you got to transition them.
Yeah.
You got to transition them.
And I heard it and I believed you, and I didn't do it. And man, every time, collateral damage from my inability to act and my unwillingness to act. So yeah, don't make that bad decision.
Yeah, you even told me not long ago, I don't even know if you remember this, but it was about someone coming on the staff that I was kind of unsure. And you were like, if it doesn't work out, don't say I told you so.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Don't say I told you so. I don't remember. My memory is not as sharp as it used to be, but I think this may kind of tie right into it.
It does.
Does it?
It does tie in. I know.
So I thought.
I know all your failures. I talk about them all the time. When you're not around, of course.
You wrote these.
I did. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I've often hired too fast. You are living proof of this one right here. No, man. You're one of you'll be in the next round of this podcast on our successes and finest moments.
Yeah,
you're one of my finest moments.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Enough about that. I said this a couple episodes ago, man. I don't think there's anybody that loves to hire as much as I do. It's love bringing people on the team.
Yeah.
I love the gift basket.
Yeah.
I love the onboarding. I love walking by their office.
Yeah.
I love smiling at them. I just love it. I love the energy that it brings, the excitement that it brings. But boy, oh boy, have I hired people way too fast. You can tell me anything you want to tell me on a resume.
Yeah. And you're just like, I believe you.
I believe you.
I believe you.
But thank God that, thank God that I've grown in how we interview now.
Yeah.
Thank God that we've been very guarded Last episode, we talked about the difference of like brand identity and the danger of the logo versus brand integrity.
Yeah.
But hiring too fast, man, can really taint the brand integrity. You get the wrong people.
Oh, man.
You get the wrong person. Here's what leaders think. And we talked a little bit about this last time. But people think, well, I got to get somebody to do the job. Because if I don't get somebody to do the job, it's going to cost me because the seat is empty. But it's going to cost you a whole lot more.
Way more.
In a whole lot more ways by hiring somebody, too quickly than just taking your time, doing your due diligence, and making sure that you've got not just the right person, but God's person.
Yeah.
That you've got God's person now a part of your organization.
Yeah.
And I think, David, to talk about the culture of our staff now and the morale of our staff now and the health of our team now, because we've got God's people here.
Yeah, it's good.
And I've tried to force hires in the past. I don't, unless we're talking about scripture, I try to avoid talking in absolutes.
Right.
Because that's very dangerous and
Yeah.
people kind of hold you to, well, you said you would never.
I know.
But you and I just talked about this recently. Like, I don't want to hire friends anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind being friends with my staff.
Right.
But in the past, I've hired friends.
Yeah, it doesn't go
And
well all the time.
they're my friend. Well, then they come on the team and there's this misunderstanding of what they think our relationship is going to be. And then but because they were my friend, I jumped them over parts of the interview process. Does that make sense?
No, yeah.
I'm being careful because I love them still, but there's just been great challenges with JC hiring quickly.
Yeah.
Let's move them through because we need them on the team.
Right.
I've got certain deadlines and timelines. I'm like, we got to get them on before then. Well, that means you got to expedite an interview process, and you really miss out on getting to know the individual and then letting the Holy Spirit speak to your heart about the individual. So like depending on when somebody's watching this episode, but our most recent hire that will soon be announced to our staff, that individual went through almost 100-day interview process.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was thorough.
And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you include one, almost 6 different interviews.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Now, again, that may be not Chick-fil-A standard.
No, some people even do more than that.
But that's a pretty high standard.
It is.
Of interviewing somebody. 6 rounds of interviews in 100 days.
And not every role in our organization will have that, but this will be a big one.
That's true.
But,
That's fair.
let me own a little piece of the hiring too fast, and I'll actually address this to the senior leaders out there that resonate with what Pastor JC is saying. He gets excited to hire people. And if you are that leader,
If you're looking for a job, shoot me an email.
and you'll get hired. I mean, there are times where he's like, we're hiring someone. I was like, I thought we weren't spending money. It doesn't matter. Bring them on. And I'm like, all right, here we go. We're doing it. So,
Also, to every one of our board of trustees that's listening, that's either A, an exaggeration, or B, it was in the budget because of transition.
there you go. Exactly. I think, that's a good question. What I'm trying to say here is this. If you are someone that gets excited, you do need to be aware of the impact that your energy and excitement is going to have on the rest of your team that's weighing in on that decision. So that doesn't give you the complete ownership of that. Let me tell you where I come in. There have been times in these interview processes with individuals that ended up needing to be let go or needed to resign, where during the interview process, I saw a red flag.
And you
I
what?
saw
And
the
you
yellow
didn't
flag.
what?
And I either said it, but I was like, yeah, I noticed this, but I'm sure it's fine. Or I just didn't say anything at all. And then on the back end, it's like, I'll tell you, like, man, when they said this thing during the interview, it stuck with me, but I choked it down. And part of it, again, is just because I want to believe the best in people and I want to get someone in the role. But there is another part of it where when I saw your energy and like you were like, man, I like him or I like her. I think she's going to be great. I think he's going to be great. There were times where I'm like, man, I don't want to like be David Downer, like I don't want to be just the bummer on this thing. Like if you believe in it, maybe you see something in them that I don't. And so I think it's just being mindful of that I need to speak up. And that's what we debriefed a lot more in our hiring processes.
No
I'm
doubt.
going to speak up a lot more when I see the red flags. And no matter how excited we get about somebody, let's make sure, like, are we sure that this is it? Like, because to my failure, I don't want to have to fire somebody.
Exactly.
And I think that if we can hire slowly, and that's kind of where you're confessing, I think they're tied together because it will reduce the amount of people that get in these firing situations if we don't hire so quickly, do our due diligence.
Hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Now, we've changed our whole interview process. And again, we have different tiers of, leaders here. It doesn't make one leader better than another leader, but you're tiered as an organization.
Responsibilities, yeah.
But man, even at the highest level of leadership, I'm now one of the last parts of the interview process, where before I was the first and maybe only.
Yeah.
But now, because I want to make sure that we're getting God's person, the right person here, I'm one of the last pieces of this whole interview process. We talked a moment ago about this most recent hire that will soon be announced.
Yeah.
And I mean, you all did 5 rounds of interviews and 99 days of the 100 days before I ever really even got involved.
Yeah.
And then every person on the executive leadership team signed off on the individual.
Right.
That was the only way that they're even brought to me. Is everybody's got to sign off.
Got to.
And then when they come to me, now it's up to my discernment.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I hope that makes sense.
It
now,
does.
if there's somebody listening that you run Wendy's or Chick-fil-A,
Yeah, it's gonna be a little different.
That's a little different context. But for the most part, if you're leading at
like a small
level,
business,
a small business,
or a church, yeah.
I know it feels urgent to get somebody there, and the urgency is real. But man, you want to make sure that you've got a really healthy interview process to try to avoid. You won't always figure it out, but to try to avoid as many potential dangers, and you said this, and to lean into those red flags.
Absolutely.
Lean into those red flags. I have given you and the other individuals on our executive leadership team, just full authority to speak to me about, we got these red flags. I know you're excited. I know you're passionate, but there's this one little thing there that it doesn't mean we don't hire them. Maybe.
Right.
Maybe it does.
Right. Yeah.
Or maybe we need to make sure that we ask these questions.
We're going to press.
We got to press in on those questions.
Agreed. Okay. This is my number one failure.
I'm so nervous.
I started out in leadership, and it tries to creep up as much as it can. It tries to creep up on me.
David, can you do it? Can you
David's number one leadership failure of all time. I didn't realize how prideful my motives were, especially when I got started in leadership.
I hope the podcast crew can throw in some
gasps. Yes. Wow. Yeah, I didn't realize how prideful my motives were when I started out in leadership, especially in Christian leadership. But this goes even into, again, a secular organization or nonprofit. When I got started, you can blind yourself with what you pretend to be your good motives. I knew how to sound like I actually cared about people. I knew how to sound like I actually was doing these things for the right. I knew how to sound humble, but I really did not search my heart enough. And it took leadership pain that I went through to start to reveal some really ugly, prideful motives that were there. When it was, let's say for preaching, when I was walking up to preach, I found myself, especially like in my early 20s, when I was going up to preach or to minister to people in groups or even in one-on-one meetings, where I wouldn't have said it out loud, but there was something in me that's like, I want them to leave thinking that I'm awesome, that I'm really smart, that I'm a great communicator, that I'm a great person, that I'm a really caring person, whatever it is. And my ministry to them was nothing more than an effort for them to see my greatness or my humility or my, great communication skills. I just didn't take time to search really deep in my heart to realize, man, and it hit me like in a season of my life where I was like, I think I've been even doing ministry in the local church, and it's been all about me. And it was maybe shortly after I got married that I started to realize, I think this has been all about me this whole time. I think everything I've done, even though God can still use that,
No doubt.
which, side note, but this is actually really important, there can still be fruit that is produced in a ministry led by a very prideful leader. And so God can speak through anything. He spoke through Balaam's donkey. Like, he can speak through anybody. And that doesn't mean that you're healthy just because people are getting saved. That's just a sidebar. But I think that I didn't realize how much was all about me. And so what I started doing, and again, COVID was a big help to this. You talked about that recently in our podcasts. Just the stripping away of everything that really didn't matter made me get down on my knees and say, God, why am I really here? And man, my heart just started to really, really break for people and for his word. And I think it was at that point I was able to start ministering out of a genuine concern for the people of God, for the people I was leading, and for his word. And I think that's when I actually started getting more traction, because I wasn't trying to get traction. I had more leadership traction and more influence because I wasn't trying to get it to begin with. It was a byproduct, not the direct goal. And I'm not saying I'm perfect on this. It's like weeds that you have to pull up every day in your yard. Like, every day when I wake up. And again, this isn't only for pastors, guys. This is for any leader. Pull out those weeds of pride daily. They grow daily. I'm trying to be hyper aware of my pride, but I try to examine everything I'm about to say during the day. I look at the meetings I've got and I'm like, okay, how can I make sure that David is not the one trying to get the glory in this meeting? David is not the one trying to get the glory in this small group, in this sermon that he's going to preach, in this meeting he has to lead, whatever it is. And then even a debrief afterwards when I'm at night and I'm praying and I say, God, if I tried to take any of your glory, I don't want it. It'll make me less effective. It'll make me far from you. I just became hyper aware. And I mean, and you know how it is when you look back and it's like, okay, it's not about having regrets because we learn from it, but it is embarrassing, man. Yeah. You look back and it's like, golly, what was I doing, man? Like, why was I so prideful? Why did I make this all about me? So I learned from that, and I've tried to crucify that pride within me. And so leaders, just because, I think my advice to you with this, and I'd love for you to speak into it. My advice to you is this. Try your best to identify where it's all about you, and don't let pride get in the way of your influence. So I don't know. I had something else I was going to say.
You know what? I don't have a whole lot to add other than I would call what you're talking about failing forward.
Sure.
You know, you didn't let that failure define you. And I know that what you're talking about, and I'm not calling it a sin, although pride is a sin. But,
yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Is not like, you know, David with Bathsheba.
No.
But if you look at David's motives after that, I mean, he put Bathsheba's husband on the front line to have him murdered.
I know.
And all of those decisions are just prideful decisions. But God used him in spite of that.
He did.
You know, and so I just want to say to you, I think it's failing forward. You learn from it.
Yeah.
And you get better.
You do.
You know, and so.
Let me add one more thing. I remember what I was going to say. You're in the danger zone here, leaders. There's nothing wrong with leadership books. There's nothing wrong with leadership conferences. Love it. We're all about it. We're doing a leadership toolkit right now. But I will tell you this. If you are only focused on crafting leadership styles and performing and your charm and the way that you can, lead people, it can actually start to turn very manipulative, and it's not you leading from a real and raw place. And what can happen is you're so focused on these strategies, and these are just strategies that are actually feeding your pride. So I would just caution you, when you get into those and you're more concerned about the way you're perceived and not about the impact that you're making, stop reading leadership books and start asking God to read you, no matter what your role is. All right, go ahead.
All right. My number one greatest failure of all time. I didn't realize how prideful David's motives were.
That is
Was that good?
That was good.
I was waiting to do that.
You made a great joke.
I was waiting to do that. I talked about this one, man. Did you put these in there
I
twice?
didn't, but it was a little repetitive. I
Yeah.
noticed that.
Well, maybe that's the Lord.
He's really
my
wanting-
boldness has often led me to push too hard. My boldness has often led me to push too hard. And that, we talked about that the last episode, but let me give it a little bit of a different perspective. I always say that I'm the wow guy, not the how guy. I think I love talking about myself. I think I'm a visionary.
Yeah.
I think God gives me these ideas and these dreams. However, you and I talked about this at lunch recently, that sometimes a senior leader can actually be, with all the great vision and all the great ideas, somewhat disconnected from the reality of where an organization is or a church is.
Right.
So I can come in and let me talk specifically to pastors for a moment. You can go to a great conference.
Oh, yeah.
You can go to Grow, or you can go to ARC, or you can go to Rise, and you go to these great conferences. You come back with all these ideas and you're fired up. But man, you don't really understand the pressure that can put on the staff, the team, the volunteers, because of your lack of patience to build that thing, to get to where you need to be in order to launch that new idea or ministry or campus or what we call a gathering or a service, right? So you come back, you're like, let's go. Well, for me early on, I didn't really care about all that.
Right.
I just knew this is what I wanted. And man, I would even over spiritualize it. The Lord wants it, so let's do it.
Right.
And then, so I would say I'm the wow guy, not the how guy. Here's the idea. Now all of you figure it out.
Right.
And I would push so hard that, again, that there was a negative impact on the team versus me coming in and saying, all right, here's the idea. Nothing wrong with the idea.
Right.
Nothing wrong with the vision. But what do I need to do to help us to get there?
Right.
Does that make sense?
That's good.
But I would push so hard, man, that I think it would frustrate the team. I think, because I don't think we're here now. Like,
No.
I don't think our team fears when I go to a conference.
Right.
But early on,
Oh, I used to hate it. I was like, oh man, you're going to another conference.
another
We're going to have to do
conference?
something different.
you're going to come back with all these ideas, and then they're going to want it done. But I tell you, and you and I are doing the podcast together, but I feel like you speak on behalf of the whole organization.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Like I think that we've got into a really good rhythm where, like, let's say I bring an idea and I'm like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And again, those are actually far and few between, because we create top priorities.
Agreed.
So we kind of lay out the things, because that allows me to kind of keep my ideas succinct.
Yeah, this is what the focus is.
This is the focus. But let's say it's a God idea.
Sure.
Let's say that something is dropped in my spirit that didn't end up on our top priorities list for this year, and God can do that.
Amen.
And it happens. Then I'll present that, and then you guys will say to me, how urgent is this?
Yeah.
Like, how urgent is
Is this a stop everything else and make it happen, or
What do we got time?
Yeah.
That one question allows me then to respond with, this matters. I just spit everywhere. Did you see that?
okay.
Say it, don't spray it.
I don't even mind.
Well, last episode your eyes were drying out, so I thought I'd spit in your face. But that one question then allows me to say, stop everything, make this the priority.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll hitch our wagon at that thing, and it's all hands on deck. Or, well, I mean, I like it, but because you'll say, so you don't want me now to focus on
just so
A, B, C, D, E, F, G?
Here's
And
what
I'm
I was doing. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that. Oh, okay. Well, if you're not saying that, then this is what the realistic timeline looks
Exactly.
like. Or I'll come back with an idea and you guys will be like, that's easy, but it's going to cost $25,000.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
It's not that big of a deal. Yeah.
So again, you guys are helping me not to push too hard by providing great questions and even facts at times.
Right.
But I think early on, man, I would push. And if you push too hard, you may push somebody away.
Well, and that's where we talked about the morale of the team in a previous. And when our morale was low, we were in a doom loop, and there was a lot of variables in that. But that's kind of what would happen is, you were excited to see the organization go somewhere. You had the vision, and everyone underneath, and I'm kind of right here in the middle, and everyone on the lower end of the organization is just trying to make it happen week by week. And so you would share the vision, and it would overwhelm them because they're already overwhelmed with trying to make it happen. And so what they would do is just get really overwhelmed, really frustrated, and they would express it in a variety of negative emotions, which would make you really upset. They're like, why aren't people on board about this? Like, aren't you guys excited? Look at all the people coming. Look at all the vision. Look at where we could go. Look at the opportunity. And then they're like, no, why don't you look? Why don't you look at, we need these volunteers here, and we don't have the budget here. And it's like, well, and it was just like a round and round we go. And so that is where, I think that what really helped launch us out of that was when you just said, hey, what do we need to do to get here? Instead of, hey, get us here.
Get us here.
What do we need to do to get here? And that's where it was like, hey, here's what we need to do. We need to do a volunteer push from the stage.
Exactly right.
Or we need to do this strategy. Or, hey, we need to not do this event. Or, hey, can we cancel this event at least for this year so that we can focus
to rearrange
in
our budget.
Exactly.
I will say too, creating that top priorities list. So getting together, because there's a number of leaders that this may be a new idea or new language to them. We get together late summer, early fall as an executive leadership team. I kind of do most of the heavy lifting, but not all the heavy lifting. So you guys will come in with some ideas, but I've been keeping a list of things that I believe God is calling us to do in the next season. And so we'll come together late summer, early fall. We'll start to create top priorities for the upcoming year.
Yep.
By late fall, we finalize that list. By the first of the year, we're rolling that out to our staff at our annual staff advance. From there, our staff is creating goals and objectives off of those
in alignment
with those top priorities.
Yep.
We've been able to then put together a budget that help fund those top priorities.
They know the full calendar. Which have been reshaped by those top priorities.
We've reevaluated the calendar because of the top priorities.
Yeah.
And now, now I don't even know if I have to push very hard because we're all pushing hard because we know where we're going together. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I think that approach has really, really helped us. One more thing about the top priorities piece. We've got stuff in our top priorities now that aren't going to happen until 2026.
Yeah.
Right. So when we announced some of those top priorities, it was 18 months away.
Yeah, it's good.
But that was so we could all work together because we knew, okay, the gravity of this decision, the gravity of this new thing, it's going to take a while to get there.
Yeah.
And I had to be okay with putting it way down the road so that I didn't push too hard and exhaust the team.
Exactly. And that's where we started clicking. So,
hey, because I did that and it made you think it clicked.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, congratulations.
We're not going to fail ever again.
We're not going to fail ever again.
Pretty sure that's how that works.
We've arrived at full success.
I'm perfect.
Yes, you are.
So that being said, the next few episodes, we've already talked about all of our leadership failures.
It's upside down. It's upside down.
What an irony.
Wow. There you go.
All of our leadership failures. All right, get that out of my face. The next few episodes, we are going to talk about our leadership finest moments. Our finest moments in leadership. I can't wait to share those. But in the meantime, we hope you guys are being blessed. Tune in next time for our leadership finest moments. We'll see you on the Go podcast.